Chapter 8 Vandals in the Museum. When the girls finally arrived home, it was 6 p.m. and their mom Eliza was already watching the local news on TV in the living room. Kara heard the news anchor talking even before she and Alex entered the house.
The bus driver suffered a heart attack, sending this school bus plummeting off the road, down this hill into the ravine below.
The TV screen showed the bus lying on the rocks at the edge of a stream. The bus looked undamaged from the distant view, except for the back door, which was missing. The anchor continued.
Amazingly, nobody was seriously injured despite falling almost 20 feet. The students on board tell us that the bus hit something on the way down, cushioning the fall, though whatever that something is has not yet been identified.
The camera switched to a boy who had been sitting in one row in front of Kara and Alex. He spoke excitedly.
It was intense. As soon as the bus went off the road, I was like, this is it. Then I heard the back door break off, and I was like, this bus is falling apart. And we were going straight down. But then we hit something, and the whole bus slowed down, and then it just stopped at the bottom. And then we all just walked out of the back.
The camera panned to the reporter at the scene.
It was a miracle that nobody was hurt in the fall, but one man's life was still in danger even after everyone exited the bus. The bus driver was unconscious and had no pulse. Thanks to the heroics of one student, he is alive today.
Alex's face suddenly filled the TV screen, with a banner below reading, Kara Danvers, Student Hero.
You had just survived a terrible scare,
an off-screen reporter said.
And yet you knew right away that the bus driver was in danger and needing assistance. What were you thinking when you saw that the driver was unconscious?
I wasn't thinking at all, Alex replied. My mom taught me CPR a few years ago. I'm surprised that I still remember all the steps. Anyone who knew CPR would have helped him. I'm no hero. The TV screen switched back to the two anchors in the newsroom, who looked at each other, smiling.
We beg to differ. What a brave girl. The man she saved now is in stable condition and is expected to make a full recovery.
Eliza switched off the TV and turned around to face her daughters. Why didn't you call me? Eliza attacked Alex. Why do you think I gave you that phone? Instead, I had to hear about this from Jerry at work. I don't know, Mom, Alex replied, looking almost as tired as she was sad. There was just so much stuff going on. Eliza stared at Kara suspiciously. I don't suppose you had anything to do with this. Kara cowered, as Eliza appeared to be accusing her of doing something wrong, and Kara's first thought was to apologize. Alex spoke up suddenly. Kara saved us all, but nobody saw anything. She flew out of the back door and caught the bus before it crashed, and then she pretended like she had climbed out of the bus like everyone else. Eliza's stern gaze softened as she looked back and forth between Kara and Alex. I'm just glad the both of you are okay, she finally said, while reaching out to group hug both girls. She did not notice that both girls were not hugging each other. And I'm so proud of both my heroes. When Eliza loosened her embrace, Kara pulled away, tearing her eyes from Alex and glaring at the ground. She didn't know what to say. Their mom had made a Chinese-style stir-fry with rice for dinner. Kara ate her fill, looking only at her food. She felt Alex's sad eyes constantly watching her, and Eliza, smiling and talking and saying how wonderful her family was and crap like that. Finally, Kara couldn't take it anymore, so she said, "Thanks for dinner," and then escaped into her bedroom, closing the door behind her. Kara visited the online chat room out of habit. Her computer screen exploded with activity. At least 20 people were texting a mile a minute, and Kara could barely follow the various threads of conversation. For once, nobody mentioned Kara at all, and she felt relieved and at the same time strangely disappointed. Every conversation was so civil, as a few survivors recounted their slice of the story. Everyone was caught up in the spirit of the moment, marching to the same beat, and nobody dared to disturb that spirit of community. And Alex was praised over and over and over. Kara turned off the computer. Her heart felt empty, and she pondered how different this entire event would have felt to her on any other day, except this one. Kara lay down on the bed and closed her eyes, wishing everything and every memory would just go away. Try as she might, Kara could not forget about Alex for even 1 minute. Her sister's life dominated Kara's internal landscape. Alex had always been an important part of Kara's life, but over the past week, Alex had become essential, like a highly addictive drug. Kara could not distract herself from thinking of Alex, and the addiction was worse when Kara closed her eyes. Every feature, every curve, and every expression of Alex's face shuffled through her mind's eye. The memory of Alex's smell and taste felt like an aching. The memory of their bodies together, intertwined, whispering and calling out and sharing the most intimate moments, felt like the only thing keeping Kara alive. And then the unthinkable happened. Now every memory was still there, as overwhelming as ever, but now horribly stained, as if from a vandal running through a museum with a can of spray paint. Except that Kara could not leave that museum. She was forced to examine every treasure and consider the damage. And she had to consider that the artist and the vandal were the same person. Why? What did it mean? Kara rested on her bed for a long time, while those questions rolled around in her mind, but she was getting no closer to an answer. The house remained unusually quiet while Kara contemplated and scrutinized, when finally, Alex walked hesitantly up to Kara's bedroom door. She raised her fist, preparing to knock on the physical barrier, but she hesitated, as the guilt seemed to be holding her back. Finally, she turned and began to walk away. "Just come in, Alex," Kara called out. Alex took a deep breath and bit the bullet, closing the door behind her. She folded her arms in front of her and tried to meet Kara's eyes. "I'm really sorry about all this stuff happening on the news. I didn't know they were going to make me out like some kind of hero." Kara sighed. "I know, Alex, but you were a hero. You don't have to feel bad about that. You saved that man. I didn't know how to do that." Alex shook her head. "You deserved all the credit. You should have been the one doing the interviews and getting all the admiration. Everyone needs to stop pretending like I'm your big sister. You should be calling all of the shots because obviously I suck at it. I don't mind being your little sister, or even if you tell me what I should do. I'm not even mad anymore," Kara replied sincerely, but she was clearly anguished. "Really?" Alex asked, disbelieving. Kara nodded. "Yes, but everything isn't just going to go away. I need to know why you did it. I need to know everything." Alex thought for a moment, then sat down on the bed beside Kara. "I don't know where to start because you don't know much about my friends." She looked down at her hands and began her story. "So, I guess I should start there. Those people I called friends were the popular girls, and everyone wanted to be one of their friends. They were nice to me after Dad died, and they were really helpful, but they were also sometimes mean. So girls kept leaving, and soon there were only 4 of us left: Linda, Peg, Cookie, and me. By then I always felt different, like the odd one out, but I needed to still be one of them. I can't explain why. I was afraid to talk because I might say something nerdy and prove that I didn't belong. They also had lots of opinions about things and people and, well, you know about Cookie, so I was always worried that they wouldn't like what I was wearing or how I was talking or what I was thinking. But I always got invited to parties, and popular boys asked me out, and I thought that's what I wanted. So I tried hard to fit in. Then this year started, and everything changed. Cookie isn't satisfied controlling just the 4 of us. She wants to be the queen of, like, all the sophomores or something. Peg and Linda are always to her left and right, and they all seem to think alike and think everyone should think like them and have boyfriends like theirs. I wanted to prove that I was just like them and that I could still be useful. So I created the student body blog and posted something about what fashions were hot, and of course the fashions that my friends liked were always the hottest. They really loved the blog, so I kept posting about things I thought they'd like, hoping that I could still be one of them. The thing is, I could never really fit in. Once you started school this year, my friends saw you, and you were different. They knew you were my little sister, so that made me different too. I told them you were adopted and that we're nothing alike. Alex shifted on the bed and said nothing for a moment, then asked, I said some bad things. Are you sure you want to hear this? Kara shook her head and asked, Do I need to? Alex closed her eyes and nodded. You see, when Dad died last year, I blamed you for that. I mean, I knew it wasn't your fault, but I couldn't help but think that if Mom and Dad hadn't adopted you, he would still be alive. So I said mean things about you to them. They didn't know you, and I never really even thought they'd ever meet you, so I didn't think it would ever matter, no matter what I said. So I told them that you were creepy and weird. They were already suspicious of adopted and homeschooled kids, so there was no way they would ever like you after that. Then you started school this year, and they saw that you were actually pretty. They also saw how we acted together, and I guess they saw something about us that even I didn't know, something I didn't want to know. They thought we were too friendly. Cookie said that sisters don't act like that, and that it totally creeped her out. And the other girls agreed, and that scared me, especially because I thought it might be true. So I said gross or whatever whenever they mentioned it, and I insisted that I was only nice to you because I had to be, and that I thought you were ugly. But they didn't totally buy that, I don't think. I thought that's why they suggested we post the list on my blog, to see what I really thought of you. Now I'm not sure. Maybe they just love the power of saying who's pretty and who's ugly like they were authorities or something. And of course, we were all on the eye candy list, but none in first place. We put Cookie on the junior list like it was a mistake, as though that made us less suspicious. But it wasn't all about the power or vanity. I'm sure the list was a test too. I mean, when I asked them who should be the prettiest out of the freshman girls, Peg was the one who suggested Kara Danvers. And I thought she was serious for a moment, but then Cookie and Linda rolled their eyes, and I knew it was a test. So I said, be serious. But that wasn't strong enough. So when we started creating the ugly list, I didn't even ask them for their pics before I wrote down your name. You see, nothing is ever what it seems to be with them, and I was sure they were testing me. I thought if I proved that I didn't think of you that way, I'd feel like I belonged with them again. But it still felt like they were judging me. Maybe they didn't care what I thought about you, but they were testing how easily they could manipulate me. Now I think maybe I was just testing myself. Kara finally interrupted, suggesting, maybe they never really liked you at all. Maybe, Alex nodded. She had held her emotions mostly in check until then, but the floodgates were starting to open. She wiped her eyes, and her voice began to crack when she said, I knew one thing for sure as soon as I saw how I had made you feel. I didn't like myself either, and I'll never deserve to be liked by anyone ever again, especially not by you. That's not true, Kara said, while touching Alex's hand and offering a smile. You just need to promise to never do anything like that again. Alex nodded emphatically. Yes, of course. I promise. Kara then continued, half serious, half teasing. and you need to tell me every day that you love me and that I'm pretty and that I'm the best thing that ever happened to you, and never, ever choose your friends over me. Alex nodded, taking her very seriously. I love you more than anything, and you are so beautiful, and the only friend I need is you. It seemed that Alex took it too seriously. Kara said, You should have friends. We should both have friends. But good friends we can trust, like Lena, not like Cookie. I don't know, Alex said. Lena and Cookie were best friends before I met her last year, before Dad died. Didn't you know that? No, Kara replied, startled, and shook her head. She was constantly surprised by how complicated high school was. Suddenly, Kara didn't see Cookie as a mean girl anymore. Cookie was a disease, a cancer. She hated thinking of people that way. It all felt like too much, so she said, I feel tired. Okay, Alex said, taking that as a sign that Kara wanted to be left alone. That was not what Kara wanted. Or maybe it was. Kara wasn't sure. Kara closed her eyes and tried to sleep, but she was kept awake by her thoughts of Alex and how much everything had changed since this morning. But Alex's visit made her think about those changes in a different light. Now she realized that the vandal did not destroy the treasures in the museum. The treasures were changing and being given a whole new level of meaning. The new meaning was much sadder than yesterday, but much deeper now too. She didn't need to throw away all those hopes and memories. She just needed to look closer, to look differently. And eventually, maybe she would appreciate everything in the museum even more. When Kara felt like she might finally drift into sleep, she heard Alex whisper through the hole in the wall. Are you there? Alex asked, hopefully. Yeah, Kara whispered. I can't stop thinking about you, said Alex. Me too.